Hey guys, good morning. So yeah, I want to talk to you today about something that's really important to understand to get a grasp on it, and it's something that I call muscle-centric wellness. And what I mean by that is that I believe, and a lot of people believe this, these days that muscle is the center of wellness. Muscle More muscle equals better outcomes, especially as you age. I think there's this huge misconception, especially with people our age, over 50, whatever it might be, that cardio, quote unquote cardio, is what keeps you healthy. And I'm here to say that while that's a good thing, we really need to be careful of our definitions of cardio, okay? What I think cardio means, and what the professionals think cardio means, is something that actually helps strengthen your circulatory system, okay? But most people equate cardio with running, and that's where the problems start to come in. Because I don't know about you, but when I look at marathon runners, and then I look at sprinters, sprinters that do like 100-meter. We used to call it the 100-yard dash, right? But people that with short bursts of energy versus this long, slow, drawn-out cardio running, I'd much rather look like a sprinter than a marathon runner, because sprinters have more muscle. And I think a lot of people get it confused too. They think that it's a vanity thing, that, well, you just want to have more muscle so you look bigger in the mirror. And while it's nice to look strong and fit, who wouldn't want to look that way? That's not the main reason to do it. There's so much myth about this cardio thing. The other thing I see about cardio running for people, over 40, is that it's really, I don't know if you've ever watched a slow motion video of somebody's knee when they're running, but you can Google that, slow-mo video of a runner, and it's shocking, the contortions, the way the knee looks as you pound the pavement or whatever it is, whatever surface you're running on. It's crazy. And then people wonder why their knees and their hips hurt and that sort of thing. And so the other problem I see with this chronic cardio thing is that it makes you ravenous. It makes you super hungry. So people might run for 45 minutes on a treadmill or whatever, and maybe burn 400 calories, let's say. But then they get off and they eat 500 or 600 calories because they're so hungry. And so where weightlifting doesn't do that. And so that's why I think this muscle-centric wellness, we need to change the focus from cardio to building muscle, okay? And that doesn't mean you have to spend hours in the gym and you've got to lift, all these heavy Olympic barbells. You just need some sort of resistance training. You need resistance put on the muscle, because in reality, muscle is the true longevity organ. If we're looking for longevity and health and wellness for the long term, it's totally all about muscle. It drives metabolism. People with more muscle have a higher rate of metabolism, hence you burn more calories while you're sleeping. It stabilizes and supports every system in the body. Think about all of the people that maybe you, that have had knee replacements. Well, what happens when your knee first gets sore? You tweak it, running or just step wrong on the sidewalk or whatever, you tweak it. What do most docs do? They'll have you wear a brace, right? They'll have you put a brace around your knee. Well, what if you could build your own brace around your knee? What if you could build the muscles up around your knee in an organized fashion, in a balanced fashion, to help support the joints? If the muscles are stronger that are supporting the joints, you're not going to have near as many joint problems. Why do you think, I can't tell you how many people have, oh yeah, I got to get my knees replaced because it's bone on bone. Well, I never heard anybody say that 30 years ago. that I got to get my knee replaced because it's bone on bone. Now, maybe it is, but part of the reason it is that constant pounding on those joints. And I think a bigger reason for that is because the muscles around that joint are so weak now that the joint has to take all the pressure instead of the muscles, tendons, ligaments that are meant to take that pressure when you run or when you just walk, or walk uphill or downhill. Same thing with your hip. If the muscles are weak around the hip joint, then the bones have to do all the work. And so we really need to get our minds right about that. And what happens when you lose muscle? Number one, you quit burning as many calories while you're sleeping at night. Number two, you start putting the skeletal system itself, the bones, at risk for deterioration and causing problems. So, and this whole age-related muscle loss, the fancy term is sarcopenia, that whole thing that we used to think 10 years ago was just a natural part of aging. Well, I'm just getting old, I'm losing muscle. The reason people are losing muscle as they get older is because they quit doing the things that build muscle. They quit eating enough protein, which I suggest anywhere from 0.8 to 1 pound, or 1 gram per pound of desired body weight. And I know for a fact, because all my clients, I have them track this the first week. I have them track what you actually eat the first week. And every one of them, 100% of the time, over hundreds of people, they're getting way too many carbs and they're not getting near enough protein. And they have no idea that day after day they're doing that. Here's what happens if you go to the gym and you work out and you don't eat enough protein. Where's your body going to get the protein? It's going to get the amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. It's going to get it one way or the other. So if you go to the gym and you break down muscle and your muscle's screaming for new building blocks, new amino acids, new proteins, and you don't get it through your nutrition, the only place it can get it is to go break down the muscle to liberate some of those amino acids. So it's essentially like driving with your foot on the brake and your foot on the gas at the same time. You'll still go somewhere, but you're not going to get very far very fast. And so it's super important to understand this, that if you want to live a long, healthy life, you have to build muscle. And like I say, a lot of people get it wrong. They think it's all about vanity and looking in the mirror, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And it's the other thing is how you train. Training for longevity is way different than training to exhaustion. Okay, now if you're an experienced weightlifter, that might be fine, but if you're not, you certainly don't need to do that. And one of the things I find that's most helpful with my clients is especially when we start out, is we have to change their identity. As soon as you change your identity to become where you say to yourself that I am an exerciser, or I am the type of person that goes to the gym, when you make that, you flip that switch in your mind that that's who you are and that's what you do, it becomes automatic. Most people think, oh, I don't have any motivation, or I just don't have any willpower. And that all changes when you say, this is the kind of person I am. I am the kind of person that cares about health and wellness, and I want to be strong and vibrant, into my 80s and 90s and 100s. That's who I am. And when you do that, when you flip that switch, that actually becomes your identity. And when that becomes your identity, then going to the gym is just like brushing your teeth, right? You don't have to get up in the morning or before you go to bed at night and consciously even think about, oh, I got to brush my teeth. It's just what you do. That's who you are. It's what you do. You wouldn't think about going out in public and not brushing your teeth. Most of us won't. Anybody that cares about their health wouldn't. Obviously, I can say that because I was a dentist. But I'm just saying, if it becomes part of your identity, then there's studies that show that you're actually 40% in addition more likely to become a regular healthy, strong individual, if that is your identity. If you identify as somebody who works out and somebody who exercises, then you're just making that decision alone, you're 40% more likely, on top of everything else, to get to the gym. And when it becomes as routine to you as brushing your teeth, then it just becomes easy. Again, it's not what you do, it's who you are. Okay, and so it's just so important to understand that. And the other thing is, like, as you get older, you want to remain capable. You want to be the one that can go do these things. I was just pheasant hunting with a bunch of guys out in Washington this last weekend, and it didn't matter where we were going, what kind of terrain we were in, if the brush was thick or the grass was thick. It's like, I don't care, I'll go down through there. I can do that. And I want to be able to do that when I'm 85 as well. And the way you do that is you change your identity, that you're the kind of person that works out. You're the kind of person that trains. You're the kind of person that is your identity. And when you do that, everything else gets easier. And so I just hope you understand the importance. And it's so sad to me when I go to the gym. I see a lot of older, out of shape people, and I'm not judging at all, but a lot of older, out of shape people either lifting incorrectly, which I'm so glad that they're there doing anything, and that's a subject for another time, but how important it is to have proper form, but also the number of people that are overweight and think that the treadmill is the answer, or the elliptical is the answer, or the stair machine is the answer. And I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm just saying that we got to make sure and keep building muscle as we get older. If you want to be strong, healthy, injury resistant, that's the other thing, is if you're, how many times we've heard people get older and they fall and slip on the sidewalk and they break a hip, and then they're in the hospital, and then they get pneumonia, and then they die, right? It's just this natural progression of things. What if you kept the muscles, tendons, ligaments strong and supportive, and you fell on the ice and you got a bruise, but you don't break your hip? The other part of that equation is, the stronger your muscle is, the stronger your tendons, ligaments are, the more load they put on bone, the less likely you are to have osteoporosis. When bone is the same way, if you don't use it or load it, it goes away, just like muscle. If you don't use it or load it, it goes away. Same thing happens to bone. So if you don't have strong muscles, you're not going to transfer that resistance to the bone, and the bone's going to start to get weaker. So you get sarcopenia and osteoporosis. I don't think that's anywhere that any of us want to go. The problem is, that's where you're going to go naturally if you don't start taking action. So if you want to explore looking into this and dialing it in once and for all and having some accountability, just comment coach, and we'll set up a free, no obligation call for you, just to have a visit about where you're at, where you want to be, and some potential options on how to get there. That's what we do here. Myself and my team are amazing at it. We love helping people. I can't tell you how it makes me feel when I see some of these people in my program that had kind of given up on some of this stuff, and now they're out vibrant, strong, doing the things they thought they'd never be able to do again. That's why I do what I do. So anyhow, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. You know how to get a hold of me. Write in the comments, coach, and we'll set up, like say, a no obligation, free, one-on-one call with me. I'd just love to get to know you and see if there's a way that I can help. So take care. I appreciate you all tuning in. And until next week, change your identity and get to the gym. Take care.